Thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring the video and supporting the channel. Hey everyone, it is time for a yearly tradition on this channel where I show you my minimalist bullet journal setup, this time for the year 2022. And I like to stay organized, and this is how I stay on track of everything when it comes to my personal life and my work. So it's just kind of like a handy little tool to help with being mindful and productive. My setup is very clean, quick and easy, no art or drawings, and I'm going to show you a flip through and show you exactly how I set it up, so you can do that with your own BUJO as well. Now, before we begin, I just want to say that I have been bullet journaling for a while now, about 4 years, and I've gotten a pretty good idea by now of which spreads I actually consistently use and which ones I basically just set up once and then hardly ever look at again. So because of that, my setup is becoming more and more simple. So it doesn't really follow all the rules of like a traditional bullet journal with a yearly, monthly, weekly planner, things like that. So if you are more into like the traditional type of bullet journaling, I recommend also checking out my 2021 video or even the one from 2020, because those were a bit more extensive. I will leave the links to both of those videos in the description box below. So all you need for this is a dotted notebook and a pen. I prefer functionality over aesthetics, so all the spreads take 1 or 2 minutes to set up, nothing artsy or anything like that. Of course, if you like to draw and be creative, totally go for it, but I want to show you that everyone can do this easy setup. I also don't use things like a ruler or whiteout or pencils or anything like that. I just put pen to paper, and if I make a mistake, I just let it stay there and I don't let it bother me. It's a great exercise for being less of a perfectionist, so you will definitely see a few mistakes here and there today. I always like to start the year with an inspirational quote. This time I chose one by Henry Matisse. There are always flowers for those who wish to see them. I just felt like with everything that has happened the last couple of years, this is something I like to remind myself of every now and then. As always, if I haven't filled up my previous notebook for the year before, I will just continue on in the same notebook. I think it's a waste to get a new one if there are still empty pages. So I did that here as well, and I used some washi tape to mark the beginning of this year so I can quickly open it up to the right page. And here you can already see a little mistake I made right on the title page. This would have driven the younger version of me crazy, but I just don't let it bother me anymore. Next up, we have an index. I stopped using a key in my bullet journal since I already know what all the little symbols mean, but of course you can add it if you want. This index will help you find specific pages or sections in your bullet journal quickly. So you can just write the topic and then the page number. I recommend finding a dotted notebook where the pages are already numbered, because that can save you a lot of time. I also recommend counting out the numbers of dots horizontally and vertically and writing that here, because then if you ever want to create a new type of spread, you won't have to keep counting all the dots to make it fit properly. And the only type of decoration that I like to use is just put a line around the page or at the top. They're completely optional, but I just like how they make the page look just a bit more structured. Next up, we have my monthly spread or monthly calendar. This is one of those things I actually use the most. And this year I decided not to do a yearly calendar because I wasn't really using it that much, and it does take quite a bit of work to set up. So my 2021 setup did have a yearly overview. So if you would like to add one to your BUJO, just to have like the year at a glance, or maybe even to use for birthdays, can be really nice. Then again, I recommend checking out the 2021 video. This monthly spread is basically like a calendar. It is 7 boxes horizontally and 5 boxes vertically, and the boxes are all 6 by 6 dots. Just quickly write the days at the top. You can also start the week at Sunday if you prefer, and then add little boxes in the top left corners to write down the days of the week, crossing out the ones that aren't in that month. This will give you a quick overview of your entire month, and you can use this to schedule your personal life, appointments, important dates, things like that. And I actually use this to organize my video schedule for YouTube and for Patreon, because it gives me a good overview of everything I need to do for each specific video. So when I fill it up, it looks something like this. And personal stuff, I usually just schedule in the calendar on my phone because I will have that with me most of the time, and then add them in my weekly spread in my bullet journal, but you'll see that later on in the video. I like to use this empty section at the right here to write down any important things I don't want to forget that month. For example, if I have to do my taxes or something like that. So this leaves the perfect space to write things like that. I like to have my monthly spreads all together. So what I did is I already set up January, February, and March, and then leave space for the rest of the monthly calendars so that I can add them later. Next up, we have a few lists, and this is where I greatly minimized my setup this year. I used to have habit trackers, budget spreads, mood trackers, gratitude lists, things like this, but I just found that I wasn't using them consistently, so I decided to leave them out this year. This particular setup is for video ideas for me, so I always like to have a place to collect them and write them down. But of course, you can use this for anything. If you have ideas for some things you want to do around the house or projects that you would like to do, you can even use this setup for regular journaling. Again, the only thing I did was create a box around a page because I like how that makes it look just a little bit more neat. I left the corners out and added these little leaf thingies, but again, feel free to make it your own. And as a minimalist, something I always use are wish lists. I like to keep them in my bullet journal instead of on my phone. And I have 4 categories: wardrobe, home, channel, and other. Of course, you can decide your own categories, and I made a box for each of them. They are 14 by 23 dots with the corners folded over like this. Very simple. And then every time I feel like I want to buy something new, I will first add it right here in my wish list, and I will think about it for a few days or for a few weeks, depending on what it is. And this really helps me with things like impulse purchases. It helps me to be more mindful with shopping and what I bring into my home and into my life. So highly recommend getting a wish list for yourself. This is something else I wanted to show you as an idea for a really handy spread. I made this a low buy, but you can use this for so many things. For example, if you want to write down some goals for yourself for the next year or New Year's resolutions even, you can do that here, or maybe a list of 10 things you want to do, like a bucket list type thing. And I just draw 10 rectangular boxes of 24 by 4 dots and number them in the left corner. You can be fancy like this with the corners or just draw a simple box. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to use this spread to take a moment and think about which things I don't want to buy next year or set a low buy for. So like a maximum number of things for each category. But again, you can use this for anything you like. Now the last thing before we get to the setup I use the most, which is the weekly spreads, is this in and out list. I saw this online a couple of weeks ago and I thought it would be fun to add this for myself this year. Now, as a minimalist, I have never placed a lot of importance on how many things I own because I don't think it matters all that much. But for 2022, I was curious and I thought it'd be cool to have an overview of everything I declutter and bring into my home, and then maybe also make a video about it at the end of the year. So if you'd like to keep track of something like that, then you can use this setup. It is a simple table-like setup with a column for the date that you either declutter something or buy something new, or both. And then here you can write the number of items that are going in or out, and use this space to write which items they were. Now, obviously, I'm not going to count things like groceries and stuff, so I'm talking about actual things and not groceries or things like toothpaste or toilet paper, so keep that in mind. Now, if you're still in the beginning phases of decluttering and watching what you buy, then you can also use this monthly setup instead. This is just an example, so these aren't my numbers, but I just wanted to show you what it could look like. So on the left, you can write down all the days of the month and then use 2 colored markers. One color for the things coming in, so the things you bought or got new, and then one color for everything you decluttered, so the things going out. And then you can draw the number of boxes with each color for the number of items. So on the first day would be 9 things you decluttered and 3 things you brought into your home. I think something like this could also work really well if you're struggling with one area of stuff, for example, your wardrobe, to just have an overview of everything that you are getting new for it, as well as the things that you are decluttering. And lastly, we get to the spread that I use the most, my weekly planner. I use this every day and it is such a big help for organizing my life, my personal life, my work. And I have tried several different weekly planner setups by now, but in the end, I always go back to this one, so it is clearly the winner for me. Basically, the setup is all personal stuff, appointments, house chores, things like that on the left, and work stuff on the right. Or you could use this as a simple to-do list for the things you want to do that week outside of your work, for example. On the left, there are 7 brackets, one for each day, and I use brackets because this is a spread I'm going to repeat every week for the whole year. So I want it to be as simple and quick to set up as possible, and brackets are just a bit quicker than boxes. So this is where I write down all my appointments, meetings, and everything that is going on in my personal life. For example, on Thursday, 7 p.m., I will have Japanese class, so I will add that in there. And on Monday morning, 9 a.m., I will go grocery shopping for the week, so I will add that in there. And on the right, I plan out all my work tasks that I want to do that week. I'll just make a list with bullet points and I will check them off as I complete them. Some tasks I will write the day behind them if I want to do them a certain day of the week, and others I will just write without a day behind them. And on the bottom is a little section for notes. If there's anything you want to remember for that week, you don't want to forget, or if you're going to schedule a day off, or if you're going to babysit your neighbor's dog, anything, you can write that in there. I want to quickly thank Skillshare for partnering up with me and sponsoring today's video. I've been watching their classes for almost 2 years now, I think, and they are my favorite place to go if I want to learn something new or get better at a certain skill. Skillshare is an online learning community and they have thousands of classes for all skill levels. They cover things like art, cooking, playing an instrument, but also things like writing, designing, gardening, photography, business classes, or starting your own side business. Just so many things. Recently, I loved Eugenia Washington's class called Confidence for Creatives. I really appreciated her views on growing confidence and self-love from the inside, and how she emphasizes that it is a journey, something to get back to anytime. I think everyone can get a little down on themselves or feel uninspired at times, and this class can be a great pick-me-up. The classes on Skillshare are designed for learning, so there are no ads. They're also not too long, which I appreciate. They're usually like 60 to 90 minutes at the most. They also have subtitles in French, Spanish, Portuguese, and German, and they're always launching new classes. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click my link in the description box will get a 1-month free trial, so you can already start learning today if you like. So this is how I organize my life and stay mindful and productive. If you enjoyed this video, I would love it if you could give it a thumbs up because that helps. And if you want more videos from me with regards to living a simpler, happier, and calmer life, be sure to hit subscribe if you haven't already. I'm actually working on a really cool video project for next week, so keep an eye out for it. Let me know in the comments if you've tried bullet journaling before and what your experiences are with it. What kind of setup do you prefer? I'm curious to know, so leave that down below. And if you enjoyed this video, then there are 2 more that I think you will really like. As always, questions, comments, conversations down below. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye!